Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I want to mainly discuss something called Project Thaw. I am getting asked so many times where people are really getting concerned about what is going on with regards to the royal family and Harry and Meghan potentially being brought back in. Well, I've done some research on this, and so I'm going to give you my thoughts and show you what I think is really going on. So if you're interested in more of a deep dive into what is going on behind the scenes, not just regurgitating what is in the mainstream media, then this could be the channel for you. My name is Ems and I use my 25 plus years experience as a UK psychotherapist, and I hopefully will give you those tips and tools to help you navigate what could be going on in your life, but give you a better understanding of human behaviour. So if this is for you, go grab your drink of choice, whatever that may be, sit back, relax as we get into some tea, some truth with a touch of therapeutic psychology. So I realised as I'm sitting here on camera, I've actually got my vest top on, but I realised it almost looks like I'm wearing my, I don't know, like I'm wearing not much. But it's so hot here. It goes from one extreme to the other, this weather. We've had cold weather, and then today it's like a proper summer's day and it's super, super hot. And so, yeah, so I'm not wearing anything. I am wearing my vest top. So just to clear that up before the comments start coming in, critiquing what I'm wearing or not wearing. Right, so yeah, I'm seeing a lot of this in the comments, and a lot of people are coming in sort of, I'm very disappointed. I don't know where this is necessarily coming from. I'm guessing there are certain people online that are talking about it. So my thoughts on this are that this is not happening. And I think what happens is people get confused between the family and the monarchy. So even though, yes, they sort of blend in together, but actually they're not. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about the half in, half out model, because I think, again, people are getting very confused by this. They're looking at the Australia tour, and I'm seeing a lot of people saying King Charles is behind this. This is, you know, he's wanting this Project Thaw. He's bringing them back. Well, I'm going to show you what I think is really going on, and I'm going to help you understand why. You know, looking at the behavior and body language, etc. So firstly, Project Thaw. So apparently this is being coined as the term for almost like a thawing of the relationship between Harry and Meghan and the royal family. Like they're thawing to pave the way for them to come back. So this is what's being banded around. But here's the thing, when you strip away the drama, when you strip away everything that is being talked about online, and this is why I've often said a lot of this is just noise. A lot of things, unfortunately, even some YouTubers are just saying things because they know it draws traffic to their channel. And I get that people have bills to pay, I get all those things, but unfortunately it does leave people very confused. It is important to recognize that when these things are being said, it's first and foremost, one of the biggest things was we would be hearing about this, you know, if you're getting your information just from a YouTuber or just from somewhere on Reddit or wherever, then you kind of then have to look at, well, where are they getting their information from? Because if this was generally the case, we would have been seeing some things being played out in the real sense. You don't just get some random YouTuber, because you've got to be very careful. There's a lot of AI out there. There's a lot of misinformation and even disinformation out there. I hate those words now because of those two. And it is important to try and get to the truth. So if there is something potentially going on in a private capacity, that is possible. So when you have the fact that King Charles is very poorly, there is every chance that he possibly may want to rectify or try and soften the relationship between him and Harry. Now, I want to disclude Meghan out of all of this because I absolutely 100% believe that Meghan is not included in anything, even though she is still obviously married to Harry. I think anything that they are attempting to do will have nothing to do with her. She is, for all intents and purposes, not trusted, not liked. No one would want her back in the UK. And I think, separate from even being like a working royal, this is potentially probably a softening, if anything, of just having King Charles having a relationship with his son again. But the biggest thing is trust. The trust has broken down irrevocably. And I think that you also have to put that into the biggest aspect of this is when trust is gone. And if you look at that in the real world for you and I, when trust is gone, it is very, very difficult to have a relationship. No matter how much you might want to, it is very difficult to have a relationship with somebody when you don't trust them. So I think that even if King Charles really does miss Harry and feels sad about the whole situation, he would also be looking at not just about himself, but also Camilla. So there are times in certain situations, like say in like you and I, that you may have to have a relationship with somebody outside of the rest of the family. So if you say want a relationship with your son, daughter, whoever, it may be that the rest of the family are not interested. So you then have to do things separately. Now, could that be possible? Yes. But like I say, I would imagine that everyone on the outside of being, you know, not King Charles would be very, very concerned and worried that Harry would try to manipulate his father. So I would imagine that there's a lot of these discussions that are going on, that even if King Charles does want that the rest of the family are like, but it's not going to happen because we don't trust him, and we don't trust that he's not going to try and weasel his way back in. He's going to try and manipulate you somehow. So there's a lot of moving parts with this. It doesn't matter that King Charles may want to have that relationship with his son. It's whether the fact that Camilla would ever trust him, which probably isn't. The fact that King Charles would ever trust him again, which he probably would never do. So it's, you know, and I think that it's one thing to want something, but actually to look at it from the angle of, but can it happen? And I think in this case, so much has happened with what they've done that I think that it's just not possible for them to come back in, even if it is on a personal level. And you look at Meghan, there's no bond there with any of them. So there's, you know, it's not as if it's Meghan that's the main, you know, with Meghan being the main problem, that she's the blood relative. She's not. She just married into the royal family. So there's no bond with her to any of the royal family. And given what she's done and what she's capable of doing and what she's still doing, then there's absolutely no way that even on a private level that they were going to say, yeah, we want Harry and Meghan to come back to the royal family, but only in just being part of the family. That's just not going to happen. And most of you know what I think about the alleged kids anyway. So then we go to being, like, say, the working role, because this is what I'm seeing. Like, after the Australia trip, I saw a lot of things coming out where people are saying King Charles has to be behind this. But here's the thing. The half in, half out model is not what people are seeming it to be. You don't get to go to somewhere like Australia on a faux royal tour and then merch. The half in, half out model was never about that. You can do your own things, which we've seen some of the royal family do. They can do their own things, but when you represent the crown, that is all you do. It is about the crown. It is about the institution. It is not about you. So if this was, say, the half in, half out model, which, to be fair, the late Queen has already said absolutely not. So there's no reason why the royal family would then go against that. But you would not have seen Harry and Meghan go across to Australia and then merch, and then Harry complaining and moaning about his family again, and Meghan doing what she has done. That's not the half in, half out model. It would have been, you're going to Australia, you're representing the crown, and so then it would be seen as a proper royal tour, even if it was a mini one. And also the royal family would have endorsed this thing. So this Project Thaw, where they're trying to get them back secretly, that's not how it works, because there's so many moving parts. The government has to be involved. They would be working with, and they would have arrived royally. They would have been doing it the same way, but they didn't. It's almost like they snuck in. You know, there was no greeting. Like, you know, when you look at the 2018, when they first went, you know, when they arrived by plane, they were met by dignitaries, they were met by, you know, certain specific high up people. There was none of that. So in all fairness, what would the royal family have benefited with doing it this way? There's no benefit to the royal family, because what you've got is Harry and Meghan trying to merge, well, mainly Meghan. There's been so much backlash from this that actually what would this have achieved if this was what they were trying to do? The best way of doing that would have been, okay, we're going to try all this out. You're going to do this as a little mini royal tour. We're going to get people involved, and we're going to see what the feel of the people, you know, how this is. You don't then damage something that you're trying to rectify. That's just not how it works. And then have Harry complain, and like I say, and then she wouldn't have been able to do the talk that she did, where she got people to pay money to sit and listen to her talk for half an hour and have a group photo. That just wouldn't have happened. That is not how the half in, half out model works. You still have to separate. So when you are representing the royal family and the monarchy, the crown, the country even, that is your job. It is not about you. So that is not what would have happened. You've also then got to look at behaviour. So like I've said to many people before, this is what you watch. It's not what people say, it's what people do. Harry and Meghan have done nothing but consistently attack the royal family, complain, also attempting to set themselves up as almost like another royal court. We've even had the things that are coming out with Meghan doesn't like the fact that she thinks the royal family are trying to outshine them. Well, if anything, it's the other way round, because the royal family do not need to try and outshine Harry and Meghan. They just do. And she doesn't like that. She's consistently trying to compete with Catherine. You know, you've only got to look at the Geneva trip, which was a massive flop, even though, again, it's being... We're getting article after article after article. You've got who involved, and there are so many things coming out about Tedros and how shady he is. She's mixing with politicians and people that she shouldn't be mixing with, and she's having to then put a statement out to say, oh, I'm distancing from them. I didn't know. Please. Of course you did. You just wanted the photo op. You're trying. She's forever grifting. This is not what you do if you've been given the green light to come back into the royal family. If the royal family have opened up the door and said, look, this, we know, we'd like you to come back. We think that you would be great. But here's what you've got to do. They would, if this is what they wanted, which is what they seem to kind of want, this connection still, because they've got nothing else, there is absolutely no way they would be misbehaving. And this is what you've got to look at. It's not about the fact that we're seeing these online people talking about, yes, they're coming back and the royal family want them to come back. You would be looking at their behaviour. For two people that seem to desperately want to keep this connection with the royal family, they would not be misbehaving unless they've basically had the door shut in their face and they've been told, you're not coming back. You don't get to leave, trash everything, and then because things are not working out for you, you can then come back. Because the other thing as well, it's not even just about Harry, Meghan and the royal family. It's also about the people. Because if they allowed them to come back, what that basically says to all of us is we condone what they did. They can do what they want. They can behave however they want. They can hurt whoever they want, and we condone it. And even they would be really stupid to think that that would not impact them. Having Harry and Meghan back in would damage them more than, in a sense, what is happening now. Because right now, Harry and Meghan are not being taken seriously. No matter how many times she consistently oversaturates herself in the media, more than Harry, she's a laughing stock. Nobody takes her seriously. You've only got to look at Geneva for that. It doesn't matter how many times she's buying her way into something, or she's fluttering her eyelashes to, you know, to the old Tedros and be like, you know, oh, and he thinks he's in with a chance or whatever. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. The fact of the matter is she's doing things that go against what the royal family represents. And not only that, having them back would basically say to all of us, everything they've done over the last 6 years has meant nothing. And you don't get to do that. You don't get to trash this institution, this legacy, and then when things are not quite working out for you, you go, oh, do you know what? Yeah, we would like back in. And the royal family go, yeah, come on in. And the other thing as well is William, Prince William and Catherine. William is the heir. So no matter what happens, that is incredibly important. And we all know by the way things have gone is that, and from the accounts that we're hearing and seeing, is that William wants nothing to do with Harry. Absolutely nothing. And probably even more so Meghan. So even if King Charles softened a little bit because he's ill and he wants to have a relationship with him, that would be on a private capacity. But for them to say, come back into the royal fold, just would never happen, because William is the heir to the throne. And it's not going to be that long, I probably would think, whether it's a year or so or a couple of years, that William is taking the reins. And so anything that happens would need to be run past him, because to bring Harry and Meghan back, King Charles wouldn't be able to just do that without having a conversation with Camilla, having a conversation with the rest of the royal family. And even if some of them are kind of like, well, you know, maybe, there is absolutely no way that William would be okay with this. There's just no way. There's just no way that I think that King Charles would then go against William, because he needs William. William is the person that's like his, in a sense, his right-hand man right now. You know, King Charles, I don't think could do a lot of what he's doing without having William and Catherine, and he adores his grandchildren. There's not any chance, in my opinion, that he would go against William. He would go against Camilla. He would even go against Catherine. So I think that a lot of these people, for some reason, seem to be, I don't know whether they want to believe this negativity about the royal family. I generally don't know their reasoning for it. But like I say, it's about the behaviour. It is not about words. That Harry and Meghan's behaviour show us that this is not happening, because it's common sense. If you're allowed back in, there isn't any chance that the king would say, you can come back in, but yeah, carry on trashing us, carry on doing what you're doing, carry on trying to upstage Catherine, carry on, you know, merching your products or whatever it is. It just wouldn't work that way. You don't get to, I mean, like, look at the fact that she's got this, you know, one-off thing where she's merching clothing. She stood in front of that podium speaking to about 20 people, and about keeping children safe in the online space, but then stuck the outfit that she wore, stuck it straight online to merch from any sales. You just wouldn't be allowed. She just wouldn't be allowed to do that. She's just not allowed to do that. You know, if someone wants to do that, that's completely separate, then that's up to them. But her doing it specifically herself to merch from those situations, I mean, that's disgusting within itself. I mean, it's not really surprising given what she did with the Bondi Beach massacre and the clothing she merched from that. But she even took a photograph, which was then taken down, because quite rightly so, it's very poor taste. She took the photograph of her wearing the blue and white striped shirt, of her hugging one of the either survivors or a parent to, or somebody that's connected to it. And that was the photograph she chose to put up on this to merch this outfit. I mean, like I say, thankfully it was taken down, and quite rightly so, and another one was put up with, it was just her. But even so, this is incredibly insensitive, incredibly poor taste. And she's doing the same thing. Like you're standing up there and talking about the safety of online, but yet you're using online to merch the clothing that you're wearing whilst talking about this. And there's just absolutely no way the royal family would allow that. So the fact that she's doing these things that she knows that she's not really supposed to be doing, like utilising her titles to merch and profit from, she knows she's not allowed to do that. The late Queen specifically said this was not what you're supposed to be doing. The sad thing is somewhere along the way, the royal family have, I mean, probably because they realise that she's not going to make any money from this. No one's really buying these outfits, because this isn't for I mean, let's face it, her cult fanatics, the very few that she's got, these are not rich people by the looks of it. And if they were, then why weren't they flying across to Geneva to support her? They don't. They just sit behind a keyboard and do it. So these are not rich people. And people that are rich are not going to be buying clothing that Meghan Markle wears because, one, she doesn't wear the right type of clothing for her frame and she doesn't really showcase it in the best light. But also because probably because they don't like her. So they're not going to support somebody they don't like. And she's not really anybody. These are not her clothing. And also, why go to that when you can just go to the site where they're from and get them from the actual designer or the actual person, rather than, yeah, I'll buy it from this one-off platform and give her a percentage of what I pay. No, people aren't going to do that. So I don't think she's going to make any real money from any of this anyway, even though she seems to believe that she will. But it's just incredibly poor taste and very insensitive. But this is who she is. And so there is just no way the royal family are going to be behind any of that. I understand that people get concerned. I understand that people sometimes believe what's being said. But like I say, it's not you really do have to watch actions. The royal family would not be allowing that to happen, and Harry and Meghan would be behaving themselves. Harry wouldn't be stepping into the political arena talking about anti-Semitism, and I am going to do a video on that. It's just, again, she just doesn't stop. But this is something that I'm being asked a lot, and so I felt that it was really important to talk about it. The desperation in Meghan in trying to stay relevant, in continually using the royal titles to merch, you know, the reeling in, let's say, this anniversary thing of like, oh, look how in love we are. And then we got the penguin thing, which again is, I believe, is a connection to William and Catherine. She does these things on purpose. She does it because she wants to affect William and Catherine. She knows that the penguin thing is very sentimental to them. So I don't believe for one second that this was really their thing. I think she took that and she's, again, trying to bait and annoy the royal family. But the thing is they're just carrying on. They're just doing their thing. I mean, they're apparently going to India this year. There's rumours of them going to Australia. So they are just carrying on, and they are getting things done. You've only got recently with William in Cornwall, visiting these houses that are being built for the homeless project. And you know, he's getting in, and this is what the point I try to make before, is that Meghan just turns up, says her word salad, goes off, takes a couple of pictures, and then that's it, done. Doesn't do anything else. Whereas William and Catherine, they get to the grassroots of it all. They get to the core of where the problem is. What do we need to do about that? And let's put things in place to make it happen. And William is doing that. Catherine does that. Harry and Meghan, they don't. They just love their speeches and the sound of their own voice and having their picture taken, staying relevant in the media or the online space. And that is all they do. So put this to bed, this thing of Project Thaw, they're coming back. They're not. And the other thing, the biggest thing, is how can she come back anyway when the children, there is this massive lie in regards to the children. Either both of them are coming back with no children in tow, in which case, how do you explain that? Or you've got the fact that you've got one child over here in the UK, which, okay, you could probably bring out for royal occasions, but you've then got this girl being trotted out and nobody knows who she is. And so, and anytime there's a royal event, these two children would have to be brought out, and you couldn't hide it. And that's the reason why I think I've said before why Megxit had to happen, because of the massive lie with the boy. They couldn't stay here and keep that lie going. You're not going to be able to do that with two children that look nothing like, probably, maybe the boy looks a bit like Harry, I don't know, but looks nothing like Meghan. The girl certainly probably isn't going to look like either of them because she's possibly adopted or she's an actress or whoever, whatever you want to believe. But you're not going to be able to keep that lie going. But yeah, so like I said, I mean, you can all have your own thoughts and opinions. I'm not saying that. You can absolutely believe that you think they're coming back. But I will give you what I know to be true. And I absolutely 100% do not believe they're coming back as working royals. Maybe King Charles wants to see Harry before he passes at some point, maybe, because he's poorly. But other than that, no. Hopefully that will relay your fears of whether Project Thaw is actually a real thing or not. I mean, whether the term is real for other things, I don't know, but it's certainly not going to, in my opinion, happen for these two. There's too much damage. There's too much that they've done. And the trust is broken. And as I said, it doesn't matter really what King Charles wants. If William is against it, which I believe he absolutely is, there's just no way it's going to happen.
Oh, I just want to give my little opinion on this as well, because I do not believe this for 1 second. What I think happened, because the writing looks very, very similar to the left hand was apparently the card that Harry wrote. I don't believe Harry wrote that either. I think that she wrote that, the one and only. But I think because the British Airways are known for, you can ring up and request this or for a special occasion. So this is well known. I think what's potentially happened is that this card has been signed. Interestingly, there was 2 Richie Riches. So perhaps that's to do with maybe it's a multiple personality person, who knows. But this is potentially printed, or it's, even though there's no evidence for that fact, but it's possibly that this was pre-planned, got them to write it. She's possibly added some extra signatures in there. And then she wrote the dearest Harry and Meghan, happy, because in all fairness, there's no way that a busy staff, a busy crew are going to know your anniversary. So this was pre-planned. And then she's utilised this, in my opinion, to make it look as if, oh, look how much the UK really like you. Look at how popular I am. Yeah, it's just classic Meghan. There's not really much more to say about that.
Yeah, so I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please give it a like if you've enjoyed it, a hype if you've got one spare, subscribe if you don't want to miss future uploads, if you enjoy these deep dives into things. Please go across and watch BiteSize Tea and support BiteSize Tea, because over there I will be breaking down videos of body language and behaviour. And yeah, all the other platforms I'm on are in the description box below. If you'd like to treat me to a cup of coffee to help support the channel, that would be amazing. If you want to become a member and all of those things, again, that would be great also. You can super chat if you want one of your, if you've got a really burning question, you want it to get to the top, super chat is a great way to do that. But again, always look after yourself first and foremost, because that is a priority. But these are just little things that do help me as a content creator. And like I say, as most of you know, the free therapy program. So that being said, I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. I will be, if I get time over the weekend, I'll do another chapter on Tom Bower and I'll upload that for you all. But as always, you know that I love you, I appreciate you, but most of all, I respect you. Take care. Bye-bye. Mwah.